A new dawn is upon us, a new season, a new time, a new year. And at the beginning of every year, we always say that phrase, new year, new me. What that means is that we are doing away with the things of the past and instead focusing on the things that are moving forward, the things that are ahead of us. I mean, the Holy Scriptures itself says, and I hope you don't mind that I take us to church real quick. The Bible says that old things are passed away, and behold, all things are become new. And just as we should apply that in our life, we should also apply it when it comes to web design. There are some things in web design that frankly need to stay in the past. And in this video, we're going to go over the 6 website trends that we need to go ahead and walk away from as we look forward to this coming year. Now make sure you stick around. On the first tip, I'm probably gonna ruffle some feathers a bit. I might offend some people, but stick around to at least the 4th tip because I give a pretty cool trick to avoid the website trend number 4. Let's get right into it. Now the first trend that we need to go ahead and move away from are animations. But no, time out. Not just any animations. We're talking about tasteless animations, useless animations. And I know that as a Webflow user, and much of our audience are, Webflow people, I may be hurting you a bit, but we really do need to step away from doing animations just for the sake of having animations. I know that animations are a big part of Webflow. I mean, the animation panel in Webflow is like so easy to use. You can do so many things. And I, for one, love animations. We make websites with animations. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against animations. But let's go ahead and move away with putting animations just so we could just be like everybody else, just so we can win a website in awards or get something nominated. Listen, we need to make sure that the animations are not hurting the user experience. In fact, I actually wrote a blog post about that right here on our website at unfinished.cc. I'm not trying to plug it, don't worry. But in that website, I go over why do we have animations anyway? Why shouldn't we have animations? And also, when do these animations hurt the user experience? I may make a blog post about this or something, but let's go ahead and step away from animations just for the sake of doing animations. There are some times when animations in your website are very useful and can really carry the story and really tell a story. Animations really should be for that purpose, to tell a story, not to distract people from the content, but to emphasize the content so that users are then more focused on the content. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's a website we worked on in our agency, Unfinished, for a company called SmugMug, a very popular photo sharing software, photo storage software. And this is for one of their new products. This was launched about a year ago, 2 years ago. But notice we have animations. So don't get me wrong, I'm not against animations. But as you scroll down, it then shows this animation that actually serves up the content, because you see the content first. The feature is fail proof and forever. And as you I think they changed the copy just recently. But the main thing is that you're now focusing on the content and it's showing that it's actually a photo. And this is the photo in this website. As you go down, there's some animations here reminiscent to something like Apple. We had tried to copy Apple as much as we can here. But at least what it does is it tells the story of the content. It tells the story of what the content is all about. So make sure you do that. So I'm not against animations at all, but let's try to do away from tasteless animations, from useless animations. Let's make sure that the animations are actually telling the story. I'll give you another example of what I'm talking about. When I was a technical consultant at Webflow, one of our clients was a legal or lawyer software. It's a software specifically for legal systems and lawyers. All right. And I remember they went to me with a consultation. They saw something. It was their design team, their creative team. They saw something on the Webflow website that they thought was really cool. And it was actually something similar to this one right here, where as you scroll down, it goes from the browser all the way, then it kind of flips and does kind of this really cool thing. It's a really cool animation. animation, right? And they scheduled a call with me because they wanted to get advice on how this animation can be done in Webflow. And so we went over the call. I went over the animation. I taught them how to do the animation. They were like, oh, that's awesome. And then they asked me a question at the very end. So they asked me, what do you think of this animation? What do you think of the design? You think this would be cool for a website? And I told them, well, since you asked me, is it okay if I can be honest? And they said, sure, yes, that's what we asked you. I want you to be honest. I said, well, let's look at your users. Who are you targeting to? Like, who's your software for? Well, they're usually for legal firms, for lawyers, for stuff like that. And then I said, well, see, you got to look at your users. Webflow is targeting towards creatives like me, towards design teams, marketing teams, towards creative teams. And so these animations will definitely please them or give them delight, and they will love this, and they will want to use. They're selling their web design and web development software, and so it's showing the capabilities of the web design or the web development software, and they're selling to creatives. Now, your legal firms, you're selling to attorneys, to lawyers, people that might be up there in age. Is this something that they will enjoy? Is this something that will help them? Is this something that they will enjoy the user experience? And then after that, they change their mind. They like the animation, but they decide not to do it anymore. So let's make sure that when we do animations, a lot of times, hey, if you're a Webflow developer, or if you're like a business, if you're creating a website, it might be best to not even have the animations. You'll have a faster website. You can tell the story. And if your user persona, or if your audience is not one that really needs those animations, then don't even do it. But of course, if you're trying to, let's say, show off your your design skills, your development skills, go ahead, man, have fun, animate away. But let's look at the target audience. Let's look at the user experience. Make sure that the animations are helping and enhancing the user experience and not hurting the user experience. I apologize for that really, really long rant. Now, the next trend we're going to talk about, and I promise you it's not going to be as long as the last one. The next trend are header carousels. Am I saying that right? Or carousels on the hero of the page. Now, I'm not going to show you an example of a bad one. I'm trying not to show bad examples on this video because I'm not here trying to talk bad about any company or any website. You've seen what I'm talking about. If you go to a website and then right on the hero or on the header, it shows like their latest event. And then after a couple seconds, it'll switch to the next one. Or you click an arrow and it'll switch to the next hero, and then it can go ahead and show whatever the latest thing they're selling, or whatever, something about their product, right? You can see this a lot in like church websites, foundations, particular event websites, where it's always like a different carousel, different header. Now, the reason why these probably are not a good idea, because when you go to a website, or when a user goes to a website, they're not going to wait for the next slide. They don't go to a website and say, ooh, I wonder what the next slide is. Let's wait. No, they're going to go ahead and start scrolling down. They're not even going to be able to see the top. The natural reaction or the natural motion when a user visits your website is not to sit there and wait for the carousel to go to the next slide. No, the natural reaction or the natural flow is they go to your website, they read whatever's right in the hero, and they start scrolling down. It's better to just have your content scrolling down and stacked instead of having a slider on the hero, and then they're all equally important. Yeah, I get it, but you still have to figure out what was slide number 1, what was slide number 2, what was slide number 3. So they're not equally important. Instead of putting them as a slider, just go ahead and just stack them, right? Make them up and down. The natural flow is flowing up and down, scrolling up and down. Now, you can have sliders. I'm not against sliders. You got to have them for testimonials. You got to have them for some examples. But let's make sure it's not on the hero and it's not like important information that they need to wait for in order to see. Now, by the way, sometimes there are some good examples of sliders on a hero. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I love this website by wise.com. And in fact, I use it to pay some of our contractors, but they do have a slider here, right? This is their hero. They have a slider, but notice the slider is not showing important information. all it's simply doing is we have images and you have where they're from. And it's actually really cool because you think about it, it tells a story. This person's receiving the money, this person's sending the money, and then the money, notice with the arrow, this person's receiving the money, and notice they're paying for stuff. This person's sending the money, and then this person's receiving the money, so on and so forth, right? So the slider even has to go with the arrow, and it tells a story of them sending money to each other and receiving money. That's an awesome example, okay? That is really cool. But if it's like important information, let's just go ahead and do away with it. Let's move away from that. Now, the next trend that we need to go ahead and step away from are too much white space or too much blank space. And we know what was kind of the company that popularized this, right? Apple. They loved putting white space on a lot of things. It's very clean. You can see it on the cases whenever you buy a phone or an iPad. It's just a very clean, blank space, white space. And a lot of people copy that. A lot of websites copy that now there's like a lot of white space and a lot of blank space. Well, in fact, that's kind of a website trend that's starting to slowly move away, slowly starting to fade away, and we see more and more tighter spacing. Now, of course, you don't want to make it too tight, but tighter spacing, a little more compact, and we're able to get the information without scrolling down too much. It's not like you scroll down and it's only like one sentence and that's it, and a huge image and a lot of blank space, and then you scroll down. I'll give you an example of a website that does a really good job of not having too much white space or not having too much blank space, but does it still in a tasteful way that's a little bit compact, but you could still, but it's still pretty clean. So you want to try to have that, find that balance of compact yet clean. Okay, let's check out what I'm talking about. This website is Jasper.ai. Shout out to Josh Jacobs, one of my good friends, who actually designed and made this website. So notice how there's not, like, there are gaps. Of course, you still want to have mindful gaps, but it's not that big. All right. You go over here, and by these are an example of like tasteful animations, right? Notice there's not that big of a space. You're going down and you're seeing the next thing. And by the way, on a marketing perspective, this is really good idea too, because then if you see too much white space and then you think that this is just it, you're not seeing what's next. There's no enticement to see what's the next thing. So there's not that much breaks in between items. You see all of a sudden, oh, now you're interested. What's this one down here? And you scroll down. Wait, what's this? Oh, wait, what's that down there? And then you keep scrolling down and you're reading everything. So one thing to eliminate is too much blank space. Let's try to keep our websites a little bit more compact this year. So for a marketing perspective, for a content perspective, but of course you don't want to make it too compact. We still want to make it pretty clean. Now, the next trend that we need to go ahead and move away from is actually my personal favorite, not the trend, but the tip that I'm about to give is my favorite. This coming year, we need to go ahead and move away from stock photos on our websites. Now, I'm not talking about the generic stock photos of someone with their thumbs up or someone going like this. Yes, those are those stock photos, Adobe stock. Hi, I'm looking at you. There are those. We're not talking about that specifically, but there's like a second level stock photos that we need to go ahead and move away from. All right. I'll show you. You know what? Let's go ahead and go to the computer and show what I'm talking about. So a lot of times nowadays, website designers, we don't go to something like Adobe stock or stock, SXC.hu or whatever. We go to something like Unsplash, right? Unsplash is our favorite photo software or photo website to get free photos from. And a lot of times we're making a website, like say like a SaaS app, we'll search for Office. Right? We'll look at something like this. Now, this is right here. That's not really that stocky, right? Stocky, whatever. It's not really that kind of a stock image. It's kind of it looks a little more natural, but you also could tell that this is something that you could tell they're kind of just sitting there for the longest time, making it look as candid as possible. But you can still tell it's staged, right? This guy right here, this dude right here, was literally just sitting there for probably like seconds or minutes. like this. Okay, so we want to now let's start to move away from that, and I'm actually going to give you a pretty cool tip to make it better. Instead of going to unsplash.com or looking for a website, it's kind of like this, right? We see it. It looks natural, but you know it, and you and I know that's not natural. We're going now for that candid look. Okay, so let's go to something like Pexels, PEXELS.com. And there, instead of searching for photos, check this out. Go check for videos. Now we're looking for stock videos. We're going to search the same term, office. Now let's look for something pretty good. I see one, which is some. Let me see a good one here. Let's see. Let's go with this one. This one's pretty good. All right. Now I know this is a pretty stock-y video, but let's show you something a little more natural. All right. Let's look for a spot in here that looks pretty good. All right. We see her doing some. There you go. All right. That's a good one. Okay. So what we're going to do, we'll screenshot this. Now, by the way, okay, make sure you all do it like legally. If you have, make sure you have Pexels subscription or whatever and download it and pay for it and all that stuff. All right. And then we'll go ahead and screenshot this as well. Now, notice the difference. Which one do you think is more natural? Let me open up the folder that shows these particular screenshots that I just made. All right. Here we go. Let's open it here. So at first, we have this one that looks pretty good, or this one, right? This one looks a little more natural, a little more candid, and actually looks pretty real, while still not making it kind of ugly. It's still a really nice photo, has that film cinematic look. And this probably got a little bit brought about by, the trend nowadays to just make pictures more natural, maybe that film effect, right? So instead of this is like that second level of stock images. We're not talking about that anymore. This is still kind of stocky now. Let's go with a little more natural type of images. Now, the next trend that we need to go ahead and move away from, a website item that needs to stay in the past, are complicated navbar mega menus. Now, I'm not talking about mega menus. Those are necessary, especially if you're working with a bigger company, like a SaaS company with a ton of products, a ton of resources. Those are unavoidable. But we want to go ahead with like super complicated ones, especially this. My pet peeve is when you have like a double drop down. For example, you have a drop down and when you hover over something, something appears, and then you hover another thing, then another thing appears. Like, dude, that's just way too much. You are doing too much. You don't need to put everything on the navbar menu. Let me show you an example. Notice here, we have a drop down, and these are just really the most important items: our products, our resources, our latest blog posts, and then that's it. Now, are these the only pages in the website? No, this website is massive. We're talking hundreds, if not thousands of pages when you include blog pages. All right, like it's a ton of pages, but not everything needs to be on the nav. That's why you have a footer. Look at that footer. That is a massive footer. A lot of links that are on that footer, and even more that are not on the footer, like landing pages and blog pages and comparison pages. The list goes on, right? But notice we just want to highlight the main things. I'm not against a mega menu. This is technically a mega menu, but we want to just go ahead and highlight the most important items. And then the other items can just go stay in the footer, or pretty much the footer. So this coming year, let's go ahead and move away from complicated nav bar drop downs. There's just too much information to take in. Let's get the most important links up there, and then the rest, find a creative way, maybe in the footer or other ways, for people to navigate and get to those pages. And then the very last trend that needs to go ahead and stay in the past is a lack of diversity. A lack of diversity in your images, a lack of diversity in your illustrations. Let's try to put some more people of color in your images or illustrations. I mean, of course, in just like an ethical perspective. Like I myself, as a person of color, I love to see myself represented on screen. Like, dude, like I'm Filipino. If I see someone that is like Filipino or someone famous, or when they talk about ube, I'm like, ah, Philippines, Filipino. We love seeing ourselves represented wherever we can. So it's really cool when websites or from like big companies represent people of diversity. All right. Whenever you look for images or illustrations, let's look for other diversity, other, you know, other colored people as well. It's not, it doesn't just make sense ethically, but if you want to think about it like financially too. All right. If you, let's say, are serving, you have a product or a SaaS product here in America, dude, you are serving people of totally different colors, of many colors. All right, it's already a bad business move to just show one color or one race as the images or illustrations on your website. That's a bad business move, my guy. But let's go ahead and move away from a lack of diversity on your websites. And a great resource for that would be something like this website created by a good friend of mine, John D. Saunders. Shout out to my boy John D. Saunders. But it's blackillustrations.com, a great resource for you to get illustrations of not just one particular race, but of different people of color. We need something like this. I don't know, maybe I need to create brownillustrations.com or asianillustrations.com. Maybe that's already created. Maybe you need to create it. Whatever. Let's just have some more diversity, some more races, some more genders. Just more diversity is a good ethical move and also a good business move. And that about wraps up our video of the 6 website trends that we need to go ahead and move away from. Now, do me a favor, in the comments below, let us know what is one of the website trends that I mentioned that you're like, yes, please let us go ahead and stop doing that. And also, secondly, if there's a website trend that I may have missed that you're like, yo, let's get away from this, go ahead and put that in the comments below. I'm so grateful that you stuck around and kept watching. Once again, my name is Abrot. I'm the founder of Unfinished, a web design and web development studio. We help businesses at the startup and enterprise level build innovative and creative websites. We post a video every week about web design and web development, so make sure you go ahead and subscribe, tune in, keep watching. Hope you have a good week. Peace.